Wednesday, April 12th, and this is the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education meeting. Can I please have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, the board will move into executive session for the purpose of collective negotiations under the Taylor Law, medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment or employment or promotion or demotion, or discipline or suspension, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Can I have a motion to move into exec?
Motion. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the board will be back at approximately 7 p.m. Good evening. Today is Wednesday, April 12th, and this is the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education meeting. Can we please stand for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The board has just returned from executive session, and I would like to approve the agenda as stated to get started tonight. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Can I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, we're beginning this evening with our topic of the policy. I'm going to let Dr. Loro begin before we get into the policy reading.
Members of the Board of Education, community members, tonight you are meeting to formalize the next school district budget that the community will vote on May 17th, 2023. We have worked to create a better opportunities for all the students to succeed. We've incorporated things in the budget to address some areas where improvements were needed to address inadequacies. These decisions were made with input from the ground up, like the music department's ask for an additional staff member due to the number of students in the program and the number of schools that a teacher had to cover. We addressed other shortfalls as well. I proposed that we put back an elementary library media specialist to oversee the 3 elementary schools' libraries. I was not comfortable with the present model of allowing teachers to just sign books out for their students and having oversight by the high school librarian over the entire district. There are enough students and staff at the high school and a large enough library collection to keep that person busy daily, the needs of the high school students met. The cost savings built into this budget, which ultimately at the end of the school year will yield a surplus to permit the board to apply these savings as fund balance in what the state has allowed us to do as a result of the closing of Indian Point. The board has been diligent in its effort to increase the reserve to offset any precipitous increase in tax rates due to other reasons over the next 5 to 10 years, while the Indian Point decommissioning continues and until such time that the land is returned to the tax rolls for further development. You are in good shape. You have a strong educational program in place, which will not change whether you keep the existing elementary configuration or go with Plan B. What you need to do now is decide on your preference. I have provided you with what you asked me to do, and these are the facts as I see them. 1, projected savings as a result of the Princeton Plan implementation were not achieved for a variety of reasons. 2, transportation routes, as they existed upon my arrival, have now been addressed presently and for the immediate future. The transportation proposition, along with the return to the present transportation policy, will allow you to have enough buses to operate a more efficient, effective, and acceptable student transportation model. The budget includes funding for either elementary district model you choose to have in place for the next year. 4, the tax levy remains nearly zero, thus maintaining a quality program at a reasonable cost to all taxpayers. 5, there will be considerable savings in the present budget once we allow the retirement incentives to do their job and get people to retire on their own. Additionally, if you apply your policy for the staffing of teaching assistants, that will allow a reduction in the number we employ, thus reducing costs and saving more. 6, if the transitions every 2 years is a concern to you and the community, then Plan B addresses that issue while continuing to provide banding from grade 3 on, a concern expressed by many people. 7, The redistricting lines that will be addressed in the policy change were done within Title VI guidelines, consistent with regulations, allowing for the establishment of a shorter travel times for all students. 8, if Plan B is voted on to proceed, the new guidelines have equitably distributed the pre-K to 2 students over 2 elementary schools based on enrollment and distance traveled, creating no school with too many economically disadvantaged students and mirroring closely the ethnic diversity within the community. 9, any educational shortfalls for subgroups are addressed and the budget contains contingencies if any future shortfalls are discovered. 10, special education programs are not diminished, but instead are provided to all students where needed and for the most part in their home school. 11, all salary increases due to collective bargaining agreements are included in this budget, as are any increases in other services and goods purchased by the district, which have increased due to inflation. 12, areas where expenditures were made through private vendors have been contracted through BOCES in order to garner revenue through state aid on purchases and services. I stand before you this evening to tell you that you've worked hard through many things over the past several weeks, but I assure that we are ready to implement whatever model you choose for the elementary school configuration, and we are committed to the overall improvement of the K-12 program through the budget that provides what is necessary for an excellent instructional program while keeping the cost to the taxpayers in the forefront of any decision making, because without the ability to pay for it, what will it do for the Hendrick-Hudson school community? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrow. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to move the audience comments section ahead of the policy reading.
So moved. No, second.
Second? Sorry, all in favor? Aye. Okay, Carmen, we're going to begin with our public comments section on both non-agenda and agenda items. I think most people are familiar. We allot 15 minutes to this section of our meeting. Each speaker can speak for 3 minutes. We have a lot of people here tonight. I'm not quite sure how many are signed up, but we need to hold tight to that 3-minute mark so that we keep the meeting going. Please be respectful. Please let us know who you are, state your name, and we're happy to hear from you.
Rogowski. Good evening, I'm Corinne Rogowski. This is my 19th year teaching for Hendrick-Hudson High School. This year, on average, I have to make parental contact twice daily, send numerous emails to both parents and students, which does not include the 6 different teachers who teach 12 of my students in Learning Center classes. I have submitted a highly concerning number of student referrals for RTI, MTSS, and students in need of assistance. I have also been communicating with building level administration and Margaret Ruller to identify students in need of reading support at the high school. The demand weighs heavily on our well-established support structure, and there is no end in sight. I have not been asked about the impact of remote learning on my students. We proceed to begin the school year from a place of trauma without so much as a conversation, a philosophy, or a plan for how to best proceed. The changes that you are proposing will compound this communal trauma. These changes also have multiple program and financial shortcomings. The high school Hispanic population is now more than 30%. Our current E&L program lacks a fluent speaker of Spanish. You have yet to provide adequate staffing and programming for all of our students in need. You will not be able to ignore student attendance issues, the compromised learning environments, and compounding social and emotional fallout that will result from an overtaxed and ill-managed system. Although we should be having conversations about how to make our students thinkers, young adults who wonder, who believe in the good of man, I have to ask you, do you think it is appropriate to make deep cuts at secondary schools to compensate for a project and agenda to keep community schools that will resegregate our students? When the $4 million you are currently hiding behind is spent, How high will you need to raise taxes? And how many more staff cuts will be needed to compensate for your irresponsible fiscal planning? When will parents be told that regardless of which plan they favor, elementary class sizes will increase? Attention must be paid. Stability is security. As a Hispanic American, I have worked my adult life to overcome the constraints that your plan will likely impose on particular students. I have worked tirelessly to become a craftsman in my classroom, and my love for my students and their futures is being exploited by you. Your first goal this school year states that the Princeton plan needs time to be properly implemented. Instead, I've watched as you openly speak to each other with utter disrespect while discussing a regressive policy change.
Stop.
With all due respect, I am embarrassed by your behavior
I'm sorry, the 3 minutes
and
is up.
disheartened by what is happening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good evening. Thank you for moving up comments. I still wonder where the translator is, though. I'd like to start by just thanking the amazing people that I've met over the last few months in this work. There are really great humans in this district trying to do important work for the community, and I'm grateful that they've taken me in. When I went to the forum in December, I did not speak, like many others who also did not speak. I really thought there was no possible way that you would reverse course and restructure our schools for a second year in a row. Standing outside of that meeting, my friend told me, look out, they're going to change the schools again, and it will happen in this coming September. And I doubted every word she said. How could they do that? It's on the website. They say one of the goals is to collect data and assess the situation in June 2023. It's April. How could they do that when they ran on the platform stating that they would not change the schools for the second year in a row? How naive was I? Well, I've already said most of what I need to say about this. I'm sure I know how this is about to go. But I am awake now, and I'm not going back to sleep. A lot of people have woken up, and I am begging everybody to please stay engaged. Please stop tearing each other down. We have a lot of work to do, and this is really the beginning.
Hello. I'm here to once again ask you to avoid making hasty mistakes and take the time to evaluate any changes you plan on implementing to our elementary structure. The elementary schools are the foundation for our district. They set the stage for the future success of our district, and that warrants more than 3 weeks of thought. You've gone about this process in a very haphazard way. You first hinted at a new model on March 8th, only about a month ago. You then preliminarily voted for the change based upon a document loaded with errors. You didn't even have correct enrollment numbers and were missing streets from your districting maps. How could you vote? You didn't have the necessary information needed to make informed decisions. You lack data, community, parent, and teacher input. You have shown obvious disrespect for your own processes. Your number one goal this year was to review the model in June, I believe. And you disrespect those that you are supposed to represent. Take the time to do this right. I know you're well aware that I think the Princeton plan is the best model for our district. I think it tackles many underlying issues, bias and inequity, and offers the most potential educational, social, emotional, and financial benefits for our district. That said, you want to evaluate a new model, fine. But go about this the right way. Take the time to make an informed decision. I also notice your budget is essentially flat. How? You have a settlement of nearly $1 million. Where's that coming from? Will there be cuts? Staff reductions? I've heard you imply that you'll be cutting the fat while you simultaneously say that there will be no cuts. Which is it? Those two statements conflict. You are charged with doing what's best for our district. Your hasty behavior is not what's best for our district. Stop making knee-jerk decisions and start being the board that we hope you can be. You don't want to be remembered as the board that resegregated our district. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Penny Hine. As I said before, I'm teaching 37 years, 29 right here in Hendrick Hudson. I did not write a speech. I'm speaking from my heart. After COVID, we had a year where we had remote teachers. I was made a 5th grade remote teacher. As a Frank G. Lindsay teacher at the time, half my class came from BV and half my class came from Furnace Woods. There are 2 friendships from that class of best friends that are one BV and one Furnace Woods. Had we not had that online class, and then they went to the middle school, they might have been on different teams and never met each other. They might never have been best friends, and they are best friends to this day. There are many children right now at Frank G. and Furnace Woods who have made friends that are going to be ripped apart and separated in September because of where they're districting our lines and separating these children from the newfound friends that they have made. I have taught so many people over the last 37 years. I have worked tirelessly, and I'm going to continue to do that. I don't care if I pack and move to every building in this district. My goal is to make sure that the children have the best education that they can have with the best teachers before them, and they are sitting right there. Those are the best teachers that your children can have, and you don't listen to them. You don't listen to any of us. You haven't asked for what we would like to give you, the data, the information that will help make an informed decision. From the bottom of my heart, I hope that you don't vote for Proposition B tonight, that you give a chance to listen to everybody sitting in this room and have us give you input on the decision. Thank you.
Good evening, Will Walsh speaking. Last meeting, a number of prior board members provided you with their insight. It's good to see that you've characteristically ignored it, that the board will continue its arbitrary, capricious actions. There is little doubt that what will happen will be challenged. I, however, want to ask a question that has not been asked, let alone answered. Who do you intend to have lead and implement the change that you're looking to set about? In February 2021, this board, or not this board, the Board of Education gave the superintendent a 5-year extension through 2025. January 4th, he spoke detailing the parameters on which performance would be used for judging the Princeton plan. January 17th, he addressed the issues that would be involved if you went back to the former status quo. On February 7th, however, this board met in executive session for 2 hours. It met without any member of the administration. It met without counsel. And I suspect, most relevantly, it met without any insight or individual who experienced previously the requirements for seeking a new superintendent. On February 15th, the superintendent felt the need to announce that the board would not be addressing the Princeton plan that night. That same night, the board again met for an hour in executive session. Once again, no counsel present. On February 24th, the superintendent announced his leave of absence. On February 27th, the following Monday, the board met in executive session for all of a minute. During that minute, it approved the contract for the acting superintendent and the $1,600 he could be billing each day of work along with his travel expenses. On March 22nd, this board approved whatever settlement was not discussed on February 27th. So if I'm interpreting all of these correctly, a couple of questions arise. Did this board effectively commit a coup d'etat on February 7th and remove the superintendent or start that process? In doing so, have you failed to include the settlement costs for replacing him both with an acting superintendent and in buying out his contract in your calculations for instituting Plan B? more importantly, on a long-term basis, have you given any thought to having professionally assassinated an administrator, having alienated the teachers of this district, having placed potentially all the students in the elementary schools once again into chaos? What is the caliber of the individual you think who you are going to be able to find for the job and undertake this task if you pass the plan that you're proposing?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Liz Peterson. I'm strictly here as a taxpayer. Particularly, my husband's a senior. I'm approaching there quickly. And we've been here 15 years. We've never had children in this district. And I'm speaking to the fact that a good portion of our income and expenses is taxes and school taxes, to be honest. So I was kind of happy to hear that you think there will be no increase on either of these plans. I'm more interested in the cost of these plans. And from everything I've been able to research, probably against what seems to be popular opinion here, the Princeton plan did not realize its savings, and it's projected to cost over $1 million in 23-24, which to me bodes increased taxes. So I'm just here to express a lot of citizens who, for one thing, I don't think this district informed anybody without children about the issues going on here. That's one thing I'd like to say. I think people who don't have children need to be informed because it affects us. It affects what we pay, it affects the cost of our living. And I would like to, basically, I'd like to see my school taxes go down. I don't have kids. I don't think I should be paying any taxes because I don't have kids.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, you know, if you choose to have children, that's great. But I don't have any, and I don't think senior citizens should be paying for it as well. So I'd like to just express that on behalf of anybody who doesn't have kids, and say that I would like to have it work that we don't have any taxes increased at all, no matter what plan gets chosen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Monica Smith. Monica Smith. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Monica Smith. I'm a parent in the district. I have a third and fourth grader. This is the first time that I've actually spoken. I've sort of been in the background, but there was a couple of things that just really sort of bothered me about some of the conversations that I've heard that I wanted to address. One, just by way of background, I've been an attorney for more than 20 years. I worked as a corporation counsel with New York City Court Counsel's Office. I do have a specialty in corporate governance, and I also now mostly focus on ESG consulting, which is environmental, social, and corporate governance. And what's been sad to see here is just a couple of things that I just want to point out. Number one is that a lot of the frustration I'm hearing about this Plan B that happened so quickly was the same frustration that I heard when the Princeton plan was enacted, and there was a failure to reach consensus. And I think that is the biggest problem. I don't really at this point have a position on Plan B, except that I see a lot of our amazing teachers are against it. So that's something for me. Certainly we were just getting ready with the, used to the last change, and I can imagine that for a lot of families going through so much change is going to be a problem. One thing that I want to address is there seems to be a lot of confusion with what equity means and what DEI in general means, and that confusion and that miscommunication is driving a lot of divisiveness that really doesn't need to be here, because I think that everyone that's here cares the most about the education of our children. So just quick cliff notes. Equality, the Princeton plan is an equality-based program. Equality means that everyone's treated the same and has as close to possible as the same experience. You can't get equity on an equality plan. Equity is meeting people where they are. That means actually that community schools are equity-based systems and models Princeton plan is an old system, it's an equality-based system. Equity means that when you have a population that you know is growing, that you make sure that you have resources that are tailored to that population. So it would be great if we could keep these things in mind when we make the decisions, and then just in terms of good corporate governance, to try to reach some consensus, not feel rushed. And it's always okay to say, hey, we did an experiment, it didn't work. You did, whatever it is, just make sure that you listen to the stakeholders and realize that you can back off of things. Thanks.
Thank you.
Leon White.
Good evening, my name is Leon White, and I'm representing a family of 4. I have a 4th grader, and I want to share that I'm an educator as well. I teach middle school, and I just so happen to be in a district where there is a neighborhood school model. Once those kids from the 4 schools come to the middle school where I work, they don't know how to interact. And if the kids are our most prized stakeholders, then I would strongly suggest that their needs be considered. Bias is unconscious, right? And if my favorite color is blue, which just so happens to wear mostly blue today, if I'm gonna pick something out, if I see a brand new shirt or whatever that I need, that I want, I'm gonna go for the blue one. I'm not gonna necessarily interact with the orange or the white or the different colors that may be presented to me. This is why I believe that the Princeton plan is the way to go. I think that a good enough chance was not given for this to work. And I strongly believe that our stakeholders, we can't listen to the loudest or the most influential voices. We must put particular effort into amplifying the voices of the people who seemingly do not have a voice. Kind of all over the place right now because I wrote something and I'm like, I want to also touch on the whole DEI idea, right? Some people think it's a religion, it's not. Diversity is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. Just in this room, there's diversity of experience, thought, and cultures, as it should be. Equity is not to be confused with equality, because equity ensures that everyone receives whatever they need to reach self-actualization. Inclusion takes things a bit further by welcoming those we value into the fold and ensure that they are served, that they feel valued. And then there's belonging, right? If we take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, before our kids or anyone in general can actually reach self-actualization, they must feel a sense of belonging. And we all know that feelings are valid. They should not be ignored. I think that whatever choice the board makes, it will speak to volumes to who we value. Is it the few voices that are loudest, most powerful, or most influential? Or are we gonna amplify the voices of those who we seem to think have no voice? Thank you.
Lori Ryan.
This one?
No, you have to address
This
us.
one? Because I'd rather.
You have to address the board, yeah.
Hi, board, how are you? I'm
Hi.
Lori Ryan. I was a member of the Penn Hud board for 12 years. I'm also a 36-year veteran teacher in a minority-majority school. We are so divided, it's not funny, somewhat like our country, and I think it's an absolute shame. So I'm going to try to talk fast because I was on the board that actually brought the Princeton plan in, and I actually regret it. And it was for the reason that one of the community members said, and I thought it was, if you look at the April 2021 meeting, it was about communication.
and we didn't. We didn't communicate at all. I have a neighbor, that was my big deal, that we were doing something under COVID.
You've been talking to the microphone?
I'm not loud enough?
No. It will go in and out on camera, so if you can talk,
Okay,
I know
I'm
it's you're
sorry.
having
I'm
your
really
back to
talking to you
people.
guys, so I'm turning my back, excuse my back.
Sorry.
So, I'm gonna talk quickly now. When I first ran for the board at Hen Hut, it was for 3 main reasons. That our superintendent would never get an 8% raise again, because if we remember, they were getting way too many raises. To install a turf field at the high school so we could be athletically competitive with other school districts, and to address the academics and accountability at the middle and the elementary schools, because I thought it was lacking. I'm really a basic kind of teacher, and I thought we were getting way too far away from the basics. Reading, writing, personal skills, communication, public speaking, penmanship, vocabulary. And to this day, I don't even know if we do it unless you have a certain teacher. So, of course, we kept track of enrollment and academic achievement. Academically, the elementary schools, as our goal, never ever made it to the upper quartile like we wanted them to make. So then I started asking questions, what's going on? And to me, it had to do with leadership and not where your child went to school. I asked over and over and over again to the leadership, what do certain schools need? And I was told, along with other board members, that certain schools had everything they needed, the same books, the same curriculum, the same opportunities, the same everything. The PTA a long time ago from BB told me that they were not given the same kind of stuff that other PTAs were. You know what, the BB PTA is awesome. They were trying to give their kids as much as possible, and in one of the Zoom meetings, they told me they were, so I don't really know what the truth was there. So I had offered a bunch of suggestions, even the auditoria, Enrique, of the auditoria back in 2009. Why not give them a new auditoria? Why not do things that can improve the academics and the life of the people at BB? I mean, Furnace Woods, even, I don't want to say the word even, but there were people from the BB community who came to me privately and told me, we don't want our kids going to school with ESL kids. You know, at least they were honest about it. Some people are not honest about it. So we put them in Furnace Woods. There's got to be some other way. So this Princeton plan came upon us in COVID. It was shady. Let me tell you, it was shady. It was not correct. We didn't communicate. We didn't send anything to anybody anywhere. So my problem is we are a divided community.
I'm sorry.
Who's the next speaker? Me. Who's me? Oh, Laura. Okay.
Thank you, Lori.
Can I come up and get her? Well, I'm going to get somebody else to speak. They want to put it.
No.
You don't want to hear what happened? I wasn't there.
Oh my God. They're really cute.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren Antonelli, resident, 28 years, 2 kids went through the district, very involved with PTA, strategic planning, etc. Love our district. Okay, I am going to say again, I request you to reconsider, all of you. I really think we've come so far in bringing this district together, and we're there. Give it another year. Let's see what happens. But drive measurement, accountability, and look at student performance. I think it's still too soon to know what the impact is to our students. Number 2, it troubles me that these wonderful staff and our union, their union, are opposed, and yet it seems like that good counsel isn't being taken to heart. The fact that they are sitting there, like when I worked for General Electric, if the union was totally against something, we listened, we paid attention, we worked with the union. It troubles me that we're somehow looking past that. And I know there's a lot of angry parents, I get it. But the reality is these people have been in our district, have helped us through these, times, and I think we should take, their opinions, or their professional opinions to heart. I did work on the strategic plan for exemplary staff. So I'm going to tell you, we do have exemplary staff, but I think we have to listen to them. Number 3, somebody shared an equity report for, I think it was Pelham and Chappaqua. And I have to say, great information. I don't know if we're going to do that. It would be very interesting to see what they would say. I know somebody pulled out something from the archives of prior years. It was brilliant. It was wonderful. It was good to see that these conversations have happened. 20 years is a long time. Things have changed. Declining enrollment is big. again, I think it would be good to look at those things. What troubled me was the comment in one of those reports that said, yes, and at the middle school, they all talked about which elementary school did this person come from? And you know what? I lived that. Having been a BV parent, we lived that, okay? It was always like, oh, was that a BV kid? And I have to say, yes, we have valedictorians from BV that I'm very proud of. Number 4, have we looked at the fact that 3 to 5 is going to be in Wall 1 school? In the memory of Linda Hall, we had that school that had, 3 to 5 and special ed and was a school for needs improvement. I know we got a little reprieve, but we're going to have that problem in 2 years. Consider that. Lastly, let's use this power and energy of this community to work on the things that are long term. Somebody wrote this week that we're not focused. We're focused on this too much. Let's focus on all the bigger fish to fry, the long-term items, which I agree, including the fact that we have so many double administrators that we're paying for. We got to change that, right? That's where our money's going. So let's do it.
Joe Ryan?
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you something, guys. You've heard my voice before. But I'm going to paraphrase George Washington when he was faced with the mutiny, or the potential mutiny, at New Windsor. And he walked into his officers who were not very happy, okay? And he took out his spectacles. And he said, you have to forgive me for using my spectacles, because I've grown white in the service of my district and slightly blind. I am the president of the Living History Education Foundation and a trustee of the Purplank Bar Company. And I'm writing this. In this letter I sent to the board, you've all read it, but you're going to hear it now. By the way, doctor, I did some investigating on you and you came out all right. I'll tell you who reported on you. My spine network is pretty extensive, okay? And it's not turned. All right. Dear Board of Education, having spent the bulk of my education career at Blue Mountain Middle School, 69 to 2001, and many decades of my life living in our school district in Montrose and Purplank and Buchanan, I feel my insights might be helpful in your education decisions. The present Princeton plan, which has recently been implemented, is a sound way to proceed. I believe it. It clearly addresses equity in education, as the elementary students will have the same class sizes, facilities, faculty, PTO experiences. Interesting factor in that PTO stuff. Over the course of their elementary education, all students will experience the same amount of time on a bus. It has strong education support of the teachers union and the vast majority of its professional educators. At least 3 members of the existing board benefited from Blue Mountain experience, which created a sense of community by providing equity, unity, and diversity in our district. The Living History program would not have existed without it. The Princeton plan has worked successfully in other districts that have dedicated themselves to providing all their students equal educational opportunities. The plan should be given at least 3 years to prove itself as both educationally and fiscally beneficial to our district. To quote, it's not the time to switch sources in midstream. And to act as the corporate memory. Uh-oh. I was part of the staff that opened Blue Mountain Middle School, and there were political reasons factored into the location of BMMS in a flooded pasture in Furnace Woods. And there were financial consequences to that decision. I have confidence that you will act as the elected Board of Education for the good of the entire public school district that you represent. Huzzah.
Spoken here before. I didn't write anything down. I'm just going to ask you guys to just please reconsider and just vote no to proposal B. I was on a call yesterday with Dr. Laro, and it was a PTA call, and I was actually stunned by the amount of information we did not have as we steamrolled to a vote. I kept asking question after question. Was there data? Was there data that's going to account for the bus ride for the Peekskill kids that now have to go to Furnace Woods. I was told, no, we're still working on that. What was the cost savings for the Princeton plan if we had just kept it the way it is right now with all of the additional state aid that we received? I was told, well, there wasn't really any savings, but I don't have that number yet. There's just a lot of, we don't know, but we're voting. And as a community, we deserve to get those numbers. It's our tax dollars that are going to be implicated in this. And to just sit here and tell us, I don't know, here's the budget, and we're voting, is a huge slap in the face to this district. We deserve for you guys to take the time, collect all the information that you need, get the teachers' input. They have been showing up here. I don't know if everybody's paying attention, but it's hard to get good teachers right now. And they're here. They're spending their nights here saying, you are not listening to us. Please, listen to the teachers. Listen to the parents. Do what's best for these kids in this district. This is not it. Proposal B is not it. I know everybody keeps saying it's a compromise, it's a compromise. All you have done is going to divide us even more. Just take a look at what's happening. Because the compromise was supposed to sort everything, but it has solved nothing. Because all everyone's talking about now is going back to K-5, because this compromise is also still unacceptable to most of the other people that were against the Princeton plan. So I ask you, take the time, reconsider your vote. Please, for the children, our teachers that are amazing that we have in this district, and for the families that have moved here and are living here. Thank you.
Thank you all. So the next step would be to read the policy once more. Want to read the policy?
I move the consideration of the board policy 5110 to the table.
Oh, hang on one second.
You didn't sign up.
Sorry. Sorry. Go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I move the consideration of board policy 5110 to the table.
Does anyone second?
I second.
I would like to make a motion to postpone it.
No.
To the table. Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
Okay, I'll repeat what just happened. Jen made a motion to bring the policy consideration to the table. Ally seconded it. And now it's up for the board discussion before we read the policy. So I don't know which side of the table would like to start, but I want to give each trustee time to make comments.
I'll go first.
Okay.
How did we get here? I ask myself that often as I try to decide how to move forward for this community. The role of a school board is to set vision, adopt policy, evaluate leadership, set budget, and manage the bargaining agreement of our staff. The signs of an effective school board is the how and why we do each of these. The why is simple, we do it for the students. I think we all here do it for the students. As parents, you are here to support your children. As teachers, you are here to support your students. We are here as board members, and we are here for all students. What sets better and best apart from the rest is the how. How do we set vision with goals to measure success? How do we communicate our actions with the community? How do we work together as a team? How do we set and monitor our budget? How do we advocate at the next level for our students? How do we focus on student achievement and success? I believe if we are not intentional about the goals, it doesn't matter the model or building our students are attending. We will not be successful. The past is not our future. Our 3 community schools were beautiful, but did not support student success for all students. They did not allow us to economically provide everything we want and need to ensure student success. Our current model of 2-year grade bands has benefits, but it also do not believe is our future. It has brought kids together earlier, it has aligned our teaching staff and buildings to support specific grades, but it is harder on our youngest students, requiring them to transition schools every 2 years, and in some cases be in schools that are furthest from their homes for many years, and has created unforeseen transportation and family strain. In this model currently, we are not using our buildings correctly. We have our KM1 students in the largest elementary school building,
with the least amount of in-classroom bathrooms. We have our oldest elementary school kids squeezed in a smaller school that has very few gang bathrooms, smaller classrooms, smaller gyms, smaller cafeteria. And the feedback from the teachers is they are making it work. All I can think is, I'm sure they are, but why? I truly believe that you have all worked very hard to make this experience and transition the best you could. And the community thanks you for that, but I don't know if that is enough. I am disappointed in the actions of our community, delivering false and misleading propaganda on both sides. I am disappointed in our past board trustees who should have and could have been more supportive simply because they understand our role. I am disappointed that it's taken us this long to get the information we have been asking for and the community deserves. But we are out of time. And what I see in front of me is hurt, brokenness, fear. What we were trying to do for this community is not a compromise, but a balance. I beg of you all to listen to one another. We must work together for all of our children and stop the nonsense of right or wrong, of us or them, because in the end, it is we. To the parents who no longer have elementary school students, I ask you to be the strength, offer the guidance and understanding our elementary school parents need as we move forward. I know who you are, you know who you are. Most importantly, to the parents who are going through this, we have heard you and we will continue to listen to you no matter what the decision. The conversations we are having now are long overdue. I am truly sorry it has taken this district so long to make meaningful changes and make students our focus. I leave you with a few kind words, probably very few of the ones I've recently seen on Facebook, that a parent wrote. The biggest predictor about how our kids will feel about change or anything is how we talk about it with them and in front of them.
Thank you, Jen. Everybody want to?
I want everyone to know that I hear them. Our children have been through a lot the last few years. I always bring myself back to, are we doing enough for them, educationally, emotionally, socially, while also providing them with the experiences they need to flourish? I have questioned that recently and hope we could find a better way. This has been a very difficult year. While reading each and every email, listening to every comment, it has taught me a lot. The attacks on me personally, the bullying and accusations have been disheartening and harmful in this overall decision-making process. Many people in this community either know me or know of me, and I have always put kids first. Not only my own, but all of yours. I love my neighbors and the unique place that Hendrick Hudson is. The strong sense of community and pride have diminished over the last few years, and we are trying to help bring that back. Unfortunately, years of distrust have seeped into this, and we need to course correct that in any model we are in. But these are adult problems. They're not children problems. I believe that in any model, I believe that our children are happy overall, and I want them to be even happier. I think we all do. I also want to ensure that we are creating policy that moves us forward and helps us grow. Looking at data and student achievement information to more accurately provide services for true equity is also so important, and I do not believe that we have really ever done that here, even in this current model. I want to go back a few years to debunk one of the things I have heard over and over again. The 2020 to 2021 Princeton Plan Committee was a 3-year process. The previous stakeholder committee was a group of 12 parents, 12 community members, and a very small, similarly sized group of staff. We met as a group only twice. We began with the meeting on November 23rd, 2020. It was 1 hour long. The second meeting was March 8th, 2021. The board voted on April 7th, 2021. It was a 5-month process in total to completely change our elementary school model. It was done with no plan of what it would look like in actual practice. 3 of those board members at the time voted to begin the Princeton Plan in September of that year, the same timeline as we are in right now. At that time, many stakeholders felt they had no voice. They wanted to be more involved. They felt unheard. As a stakeholder myself on the committee, I felt we should have presented to the board directly. We were not given that opportunity. There were other plans to look at and possibly better ways to educate our students. They wouldn't save enough money. We weren't allowed to talk about them. That was very sad. The community deserved to know what these opportunities and models look like for our children. We were trying to show that. There seems to be the perspective that this process was much different than in 2021, but I disagree. As a board, we have been very engaged. We have not shut down the public comment. We have a working session in public that we were scrutinized and pulled apart for doing. We have asked for feedback, asked for fixes for months. At this time, the board is still in the dark on some of these fixes and what they can look like, as is the community. Right now, we are in month 8. What is the plan to fix the current issues we still face moving into next year? No matter what we decide tonight, we need to plan that, and the community deserves to see what we are working on and that we are listening to them. I would like to remind everyone of the main parent and community concerns. This is second part. I want to remind everyone of the concerns that we heard from December 2022. This is directly from the December 21st board presentation. Transportation. Families with multiple bus times and routes, length of bus rides, bus safety, increased costs, and the carbon footprint. We have solved some of the lengthy bus rides, but children are still out of their homes for a very long time. With the new buses, we hope we can improve safety, length of time, and also help the middle school and high school with their bus issues. Athletics busing can be improved, and hopefully we can accommodate field trips more easily and visits for students and staff to see each other in other buildings. I'm hoping to see more of this no matter what plan we are in. These buses can help, but they still do not eliminate that there are children out of their homes longer than before, and we need to prioritize this. It doesn't matter where they live or who they are. Family logistics, before and after school planning, managing and attending events, as well as sorting out conflicts and keeping up with communications from multiple buildings. We have not done anything to fix this for families. As far as I know, we haven't addressed this. We need to focus on parent engagement and involvement, as well as planning events that include all family members together when possible. The PTA has done a great job this year, but I believe the district can help them do even more. We need to work together. Our financial expectations fell short. I'm sorry, that's a financial thing. The entire conversation, beginning with 2020, should have never been fully about finances. That was an epic fail. It was a failure. The narrative has been terrible. We never talked about children. We need to change the mentality. Cutting the staffing program at the elementary first was probably not the answer. We need to look at our programs holistically and make sure we are not only fiscally responsible, but that we are giving kids what they need to learn and grow and be successful and be well beyond secondary level. This means a strong program for every child. UPK through 12th grade. Lack of community, attributed to the 2-year loop of grade banding, fear of learning loss, and mental health problems. This issue could be addressed with the Plan B model to an extent and help establish one less transition. What we were hoping to do with the help of Dr. Laura was not upset the community. We were trying to take all of the positive and negative feedback that we have heard and make it better. For anyone that can't see that and accuses us of having an agenda, please reach out to each of us. When you talk to us, it will make you feel better. This leads me to the staff. The Friday before spring break, we visited the teachers and staff at each elementary school. Staff members and those experienced ranged from very angry to unprofessional, and they were even offended that we were even bothering to visit them. What some are unable to see is that we are volunteers. We would not be in these seats if we didn't care about your input, and we most certainly wouldn't be in these seats if we did not care about you and the students. I have been so disheartened to see the behavior of the HHEA spreading lies and mistruths, postcards, phone calls, videos circulating in the community that are created by them to make the out to be something that we are not.
Please, if everyone can just be respectful.
These board trustees, I sit. That's respectful? Gavel them. It is. It's facts.
Okay, we can all get along, please.
The board trustees that I sit here with are 6 of the kindest, most committed, most invested and caring people I know. Your propaganda has spread so many lies. What a shame. I'm not sure how we move forward, but I'm hoping we can. The decisions we make are hard. They may impact your jobs, but we are not trying to hurt you. We hear you. We are just trying to fix what can't be fixed easily in this current plan. No matter how hard we work, Our facilities are our facilities, and our roads are our roads, etc., etc. In order to fix a problem, you must first admit that there is a problem. Please commit to working with us in the future and not against us. The postcard mailer I mentioned has people ready to vote down this budget, angry and confused. This does no one any good. In fact, one can argue that if the budget fails, it is terrible for our students, but even worse for the HHEA. In the future, please reconsider such tactics because they are of lasting impacts and they do not help us move forward with open minds and open hearts. We need to do better than that and set better examples for our community and students. I want to be very clear. Your tactics play no role in my decision tonight. What does play a role are the calm, clear, articulate, supportive, and professional voices of your peers. Some of you are among that group. They give us hope in the decision I make is because I heard them through the anger, frustration, and noise. To our parents and community members, if I let you down tonight, I am sorry. I hear you. We need to do better. We need to make sure that we are committed to all of our children. I want everyone to know that I am committed to investing my time into holding this district staff accountable to our students and community. If we work together, we can do so much better. We need to listen and not argue. We need to look at what is ahead of us, plan for it, and work on what's best. Let's not forget all we have learned this year and all the wins. 3 main wins that stand out for me are one elementary school PTA. That was probably something we should have done a very long time ago. Our PBIS is now aligned, and we are all finally sailors. We are luckily, a lot of this is already planned out in our strategic plan goals, shared decision-making practices, and better communication are a large part of that. We are getting there, and with hard work and dedication to engage all stakeholders, we'll be able to move forward and become the best hen HUD we can be.
Thank you. Anyone like to go next? Sharon, you want to?
The conversation around grade banding has been a divisive topic as any that I recall in our district, and in the simplest terms, no one is wrong. Sure, some people have information that they may or may not be disputed, and there may be unintended consequences from one decision or another, but at the end of the day, not one person is wrong, and I don't believe anyone is acting in a way that is not in the best interest of their family or believed to be in the best interest of one group of families or another. I don't believe anyone wants a model that hurts kids, and frankly, I wish there was a big enough building to house K-5 under one roof to satisfy the needs and wants of every stakeholder. Our reality doesn't currently allow for such a system, and as such, we are tasked with finding the next best model. Exploration of ideas and models is a journey. We have learned of pros and cons of the former model, the current model, and what could be drawbacks of the model before us this evening, depending on which stakeholder group is weighing in at one moment or another, and the points that they wish to highlight that fit what they believe to be best. We have 2 board members today who stated they acknowledge mistakes made previously and are afraid of repeating the same. I hear you and I respect your position. While I may not agree with you, your position is valid and considered. We have teachers who were staunchly opposed to grade banding that are now as big as champions and have shared the wins as a result. I hear you too. There are students who are happy and there's others who are struggling. To their parents, I also hear you. When all the noise is removed and emotions settle, we must return our focus to one topic that was never really discussed previously, and that is what is best for students. I don't think the state is the sole voice when deciding what is best for students, but I think that that voice is important and one of the many stakeholder groups that we must consider. After all, the foundation of public schools is rooted in this very notion and supported today through the use of a Board of Education. Community representatives who consider the wants and needs of all stakeholders and make decisions accordingly, even when unpopular with one stakeholder group or another. And to this I will add, not doing 100% of what one stakeholder group wants is not an absence of listening, rather the process of considering that voice as one of many. I still firmly believe that parents and no one else know what is best for their children. In a very short and simple statement, I don't support the frequent transition grade banding models as the best way to educate students. When I look at the best districts in Westchester, most do not subscribe to banding, and the ones that do built models that minimize transitions. The districts with the most transitions in Westchester, and I believe I'm accurate, so I'll put a little qualifier there, are Peekskill, Ossining, Greenberg, and Tarrytown. The first 3 are all targeted districts. The fourth, Tarrytown, is 65% E&L and is not targeted, but interestingly enough, they have a 3-5 school, as does Somers and Byram Hills. I believe in modeling success and then tailor fitting it to what can best be implemented to improve the problems the model is built to solve. In this life, I'm a parent first. In my personal life, nothing comes before my children or my family. Hard stop. However, my role in the school board and the decisions that are made cannot be based simply on what's best for me, my children, or my family. I committed to supporting the implementation of this year's banding model and kept my word. Does that mean we must suffer a long, slow death for kids and family who are miserable in the model? Of course not. This was not well executed, and I don't think anyone on the outside looking in thinks this was without faults. One of the biggest issues is the very administration who allowed these perceived inequities and inequalities in our K-5 model to exist and never acknowledged nor improved said inequities or inequalities, built this model with no attempt to address them still, and have yet to acknowledge any of the shortcomings in our current model outside of transportation. The people who are responsible to protect students from the problems have never acknowledged them as a problem, surely can't fix the problem. Time can't heal all wounds. The board needs to focus on what's best for all students, not what's easiest for some adults. When I think about what's best for kids, I'm reminded of core beliefs and straightforward concepts: consistency, stability, and community. I truly believe we miss all of these with our current model. I also feel it's important to acknowledge that I've learned benefits of banding, and I'm confident that we're building a model that minimizes the negatives of what we have, while also capturing the potential benefits that I've learned at my grade banding.
Forgive me for being a little bit all over the place. I kind of just wrote down my thoughts, and I'm speaking of my experience. My experience being part of the BOE this year and working with certain members of central office has left me feeling frustrated, angry, and disappointed. When I asked certain members in central office for data, it was not provided, insufficient, and inaccurate. So much so that I have spent my time fact-checking the data I did receive by meeting with administrators in my home school district, often leading me to disprove information that was being given to me. Enrique, you gave me factual data, but I did fact-check it too. I have also spent my time foiling information from New York State Education Department to obtain data that was not provided to me. I threatened numerous times to actually foil for information in this district, all while I sit as a member of the BOE. That should be a red flag to everyone in this community. Certain information people have screenshot, since I don't do social media, and sent to me. Information that was never given to me, that has been leaked to different sides and put on social media. This information comes from central office. That should be another red flag to this community. Ask yourself why, because that is what I've been asking myself. Why would data not be provided, be insufficient and inaccurate? I made a campaign promise to hold administration accountable for the implementation of Princeton Plan, not just to the elementary school parents, to the taxpayers. Some facts I have learned through my own research and FOIL requests. We all know BV used to be designated as a Title I school. When it was a Title I school, there used to be a committee that followed and tracked the progress of students in the school that needed remediation. Under PP, this committee was disbanded, and these students are not receiving the same level of services. Fact, Princeton Plan diluted the students, so we are no longer a Title I school. We are not off the list because students are performing better. We are not off the list because we provide students with the services they need. We are off the list because we diluted the population. Administration has said in past meetings, we would use test scores as one of the benchmarks to judge the success of PP. Well, I've seen some of the test scores because they've been leaked online.
not because I've seen them from central office. So excuse me if what I'm saying proves to be fact-checked and not correct. But what has been leaked online, which looks pretty much like central office data, Princeton Plan has not increased test scores. They are dismal. No wonder we didn't give them any added services. Princeton Plan makes managing 3 elementary schools easier for central office. Just a fact. Princeton Plan did not save the taxpayers $2 million. It actually cost the taxpayers money. Princeton Plan is now being touted as a DEI initiative. When I went to the meetings, it wasn't touted that way to me. But it is obvious that people went to other meetings and it was sold to them that way. I am not discounting that. On July 8th, 2021, I submitted a FOIL request as a parent for all communications, including but not limited to emails, electronic correspondence, surveys, studies, reports sent by and between the Hendrick Hudson School District Superintendent, the Assistant Superintendent, and the Board of Education to include the following. I won't read you the 100 words that are here, I just highlighted some. Race, DEI, diversity, equity, diversity in education, cultural awareness. The scope of this request was for July 1st, 2020, all the way to July 8th, 2021. My FOIL request was honored. None of the emails I received from my FOIL request mentioned Princeton Plan. The BOE, the superintendent, and the assistant superintendent had little to no conversations regarding DEI or diversity from July 2020 to July 2021. So, although it was sold, there's no correspondence in my FOIL request, no surveys, no studies between any of them regarding that. It is clear that some members in this community were told Princeton Plan was a DEI initiative, while the rest of the community was told that it was being done for cost savings. Why different messages to different community members? It just added to the divide. Princeton Plan, neighborhood schools, modified Princeton Plan, shouldn't be what is causing so much discourse in this community. Why are we not outraged that our kids are not getting the services they need? That our test scores and rankings continue to decline? That our kids are not reading and writing at grade level? All this misinformation is designed to have us fighting each other instead of holding the professionals accountable. Do you know in this district you have to be 2 years behind to get services? How is that a thing with COVID? How do you take money from the federal government to catch all students up? And I want to clear this up. Whether you're educated or an uneducated laborer, you're not getting services for your kid. I'm in education 25 years. My child is a year behind. There's no services to be had. But I will state this. You know who gets services? The people who can afford to go outside and pay for them. And that is disgraceful as an educator to me. Sorry, went off topic. I volunteered to serve on the Board of Ed. I did not volunteer myself or my family members to become targets of the anger, hatred, and retaliatory actions of others. I didn't sign up for that. This is not the first time someone in this community has been targeted for having a different opinion. A couple of years ago, while I sat in the audience at a BOE meeting, a parent questioned the old BOE about the school budget. This parent outlined major issues with the budget and the overspending that was going on. This individual made a detailed presentation questioning the BOE's proposed budget. That presentation was posted on social media. Flyers were also sent out. You know what happened to this individual? They were threatened, harassed, and bullied. Their family was too. People threatened to sue this individual for their opinion. Does that sound familiar to you? The old BOE discounted everything this person said. Some of the same people who are saying angry, hateful things online now are the same people who went after this person. You know what? Almost everything she said has proven to be accurate. How can I make that statement? In 2019, a study was conducted and analyzed by the BOE. I wasn't on it then. This report is called the Study to Examine Utilization of District Schools. This is a study the old BOE used to justify switching to Princeton plan. In 2019, the only portion of that report to be discussed publicly was the elementary school portion. The report, which is 82 pages long, outlines savings that could occur at every grade level. The report clearly states that this district is overstaffed. It is circulating around now, I believe on social media. Why was it not circulating around in 2019? Why was only a small portion of that report discussed publicly by the board in 2019? After looking over this report and doing my own research using BEDS data, it is unfathomable to me that the old BOE members have the gall to pretend to care about the taxpayers and the children in this community. Surrounding districts have adjusted teachers and staff based on student enrollment. Enrollment goes up, teachers go up. Enrollment goes down, teachers go down. Not here. As our enrollment declined, we never decreased teachers. And it has declined. So much so, some people are floating closing an elementary school. We employ 253 teachers here. When surrounding districts in our area employed 253 teachers, they had 1,008 more students than us, just to give you what it looks like. So when other districts employed 253 more teachers, they had 1,008 more students enrolled. Surrounding districts have a 12-to-1 and 15-to-1 student-teacher ratio. We have a 9-to-1. Surrounding districts outperform us on test scores. People who are spreading information regarding teacher cuts have read the above study I mentioned. They reference it in their social media posts. They know we are not cutting programs. They know we are overstaffed. But yet they are still spreading misinformation. Why? Can you imagine if we listened to that community member who brought this to our attention years ago? We could have reallocated those funds to provide students with the services they need. I have been in education for 25 years. I am a union employee and proud of it. I know that the union has 3 functions. Function 1, to protect and grow teaching positions. Function 2, to obtain the most financially beneficial contract for its members. Function 3, to uphold the contract. Everything a union does is around one of those functions. As an educator and BOE member, I appreciate and acknowledge the value of teacher input. However, this value is negated when it spreads inaccurate information that causes more divisiveness within this community. There is a portion of this community, now this hurts me as an educator, so please listen to this. We have received emails from parents, multiple ones. These parents have written in that they do not feel comfortable sending their kids into school because they fear teachers will retaliate against their children for having a difference of opinion. Do you know what that must feel like? To send your children to school and not trust that they will be treated well? think about what you are doing. I can sum up my experience being on this board with one word: gaslighting. Gaslighting is the action of repetitively lying to someone to manipulate. It could be divided into 4 different types: outright lying, manipulation of facts, condemning, and bullying. I urge the community to stop fighting with one another, to stop listening to the misinformation and the loud, angry voices. It's time to turn your focus on the administration and hold them accountable for ensuring that our students are successful and get what they need. That's my statement.
My position on this topic remains unchanged. We've been discussing it for several weeks now. I do not support a policy change. The decision-making process is just as important as the actual decision. So we need to honor the decision-making process here. As I've stated over the past several weeks, my concern with a hasty change is that without transparency, community participation, and a clear plan forward, we cannot rebuild the lost sense of trust in our district. Our responsibility as trustees is to make data-driven decisions. Getting all the information we need to consider how any change, whether it's A, B, or C, will affect our district long-term, that's going to take time. I think it's worth taking the time now so we don't have to revisit this conversation every other year. The community wants transparency, and that means having objective data to show how and why decisions are made. To me, a compromise means that everyone loses. But what if we can all be winners? Every challenge is an opportunity, and I do not think that we spent enough time here exploring solutions. So I'd like to shift our focus. I want us to be positive and work together for all of our Hendrick Hudson students.
Thanks, Adam.
So I already made my statement, so I don't need to make this long, but I think based on what I've heard tonight, everyone's made a really good business case in that the data we've gotten is probably not right. And we still don't have the right data, right? And we don't trust the data, we don't trust what's coming to us. So I question, is this the right process that we have to make a decision? Should we be thinking about taking more time, doing this right, working with the community, making our communications better, sticking to our strategic plan? I think you've all just, in your statements, made the case to do that. So, I would encourage that we all think about that. And that's really all I have to say, because I've said enough already. So, I appreciate this additional time that I got.
All right, you guys have listened to a lot, so I'll try to run through it quick. A lot of my thoughts are with my fellow trustees, but I did also prepare something to share with the community tonight. As many of you know, I'm a lifelong district resident. When I decided to run for the board, it was simply to give back to a school district and a community that I felt gave so much to me. I saw and felt that the strength of the community was slipping away and much improvement was needed. Rather than advocate as just a parent and taxpayer, I decided to work this voluntary job to ensure positive momentum would occur. Never did I think that I was jeopardizing myself as a person, a parent in this community, and certainly not jeopardizing my children and my family. I chose to raise my children as sailors. My husband and I both grew up here, in fact, on very opposite ends of the town. This community was and is everything to us. A community is only as strong as those that inhabit it together. I want to tell you a very brief story today. My son was in a terrible accident alone on his bike. Within 30 seconds, multiple cars pulled over and pedestrians stopped. Quite a few of those people knew who he was and knew where we lived. They took care of my son as if he was their own and continued to follow up weeks after the accident. That is the best definition of community that I could come up with for you all tonight. I hope when you need your neighbors, they are there for you. Fighting and hating each other is not what a community does. Regardless of the outcome of this evening, please remember that your neighbors are truly important and special. As for the plan moving forward, it is no secret that I've been a proponent of less transitions for the children. I have always advocated for more time in one place. The only research that I can find tells me that you want to eliminate and reduce transition wherever possible. There is research learning loss that occurs in every move that the children make. I believe our youngest children need to feel safe and have consistency. Elementary school is the foundation of their education. If we could go back in time, and I know you've heard it tonight, but I would tell you that I am totally disheartened that the district did not look at ways to reallocate our budget years ago. We had massive inefficiencies that should have been tended to long before uprooting the youngest learners. I've come to learn of the struggles of our community model, and I believe that the right funding of programs and proper management of the district, we would have been able to sustain and improve. The K-5 community school is a popular model in Westchester County due to the consistency and the stability that it gives to students. Also, the Hendrick Hudson School District has utilized this model for so many years due to the geographical spread of the district. The idea of shifting to Princeton plan was brought up many times over the last few decades and always rejected due to the transportation challenges and the cost of that alone. With that said, I realize that we are here now. In this hybrid model that's being proposed, which is not new and not unexplored, we bring together the best of both worlds, both the community school model and grade banking. The children would have 3 years in one place for K through 2 and 3 through 5. Our youngest students would remain close to home with shorter bus rides and facilities would become more appropriate. I believe that it is time for the school district to move forward and the community needs to come together in true Saylor fashion. And one last thing that's not here on this paper, I have to tell you, as a mom of 3 little boys, I feel like every child, when you become a mother, every child is yours. So for me, this has been exceptionally difficult, and I really appreciate the respect of the community. With that said, my statement's over. And if there's no other comments or statements, we have to keep things moving.
I move to postpone any action on policy change 5110 until December 6th, 2023.
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Okay. Carmen, that's a 4-3 vote, and the policy is going to be held for, postponed, for later discussion and voting on said date. To our consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Can I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Right. I think we have donations, if that's what's next. Yep. I'm just giving a minute for everyone to get situated.
Take a break?
Yeah, you know what, everybody, let's take a 5-minute break, so everybody that wants to exit can use the restroom, and then we'll come back. Can I exit?
Carmen, do you need an official recess?
Careful, Jen. No? Is it okay? All right, we'll be back in 5. The board is back from a quick recess. Thank you for waiting.
Carmen.
No, I have.
Carmen, do you have more packets?
Hold on.
No, you don't have.
No, I have an
I'll
extra.
share.
I have one. Okay, we were at our donations. We need to acknowledge our donations. I'll give Fred a minute. Uh-oh, which one's first? EdTech? Okay. EdTech, our IT solutions provider, has donated 6 Tello drones for the Hendrick Hudson STEAM education program. The cost of this donation is approximately $600. EdTech? Yeah?
No, that's cool.
Oh, I said cool.
No, I'm saying cool.
All right. Which one is next? I'm sorry? ANS.
The foods.
Yeah, I took mine out of order, sorry about that. ANS Fine Foods in Croton has donated $250 for the Hendrick Hudson softball program.
That's good.
Awesome. And the third donation is the Hendrick Hudson Community Education Foundation has made a donation of $577.25 for the Alan Zollner's and Deborah Levy's proposal science field trip to the American Museum of Natural History. All right, can I have a motion to approve the donations?
So moved.
Can I have a second? All in favor? Right. Moving along to our presentation. Tonight's presentation is our budget adoption. And for those of you in the audience or at home, just so you know, if you go back on Board Docs, you can find different pieces of the budget over time. We present different departments in different weeks leading up to the final budget presentation. So
And this will get posted to the website too?
Each presentation?
Each presentation gets posted to our district website.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank
Board Docs or the district website, and if you have any questions, please reach out, and I'll let Enrique take it from here.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. As always, I want to start with the beautiful pictures that our high school and middle school students do during their day-to-day operations in the art classes. So here we have 2 beautiful pictures before you get to the boring part. So let's get to the boring part. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the big increases and decreases that are going from one year to the other one and explain them. Obviously, the biggest increase, not in percentage, but in money, is for instructional salaries. And that's because that's our instructional salaries represents with benefits about 60 to 70% of our budget. And this includes teachers, guidance counselors, social workers, principals and assistant principals in the high school. This is a contractual agreement with the 2 different unions, and that will be an increase of close to $1 million for next year. The next one is benefits. Benefits is for the whole staff, and this includes health insurance, workers' compensation, unemployment, other benefits that we provide, that the district provides for us, for the employees. And that will be an increase of about $941,000. Out of these $941,000, about $840,000 comes from health insurance. Unfortunately, health insurance continues to grow at very high percentages. The increase this year is 5%. Unfortunately, we don't expect for these numbers to go down. On a side point, I'm going to ask everyone not to forget to go back and re-enter for health insurance, because the health insurance consortium is changing and is asking to re-enlist everyone that is insured by us. Well, back to this. Plant maintenance and security is an increase of $190,000. That includes mainly our custodians and our security people and everything that we need to have these facilities in working order. Transportation, it's going to be an increase of $200,000. As we discussed during the transportation budget night, we are hiring 4 halves drivers. That means that we're hiring 4 new people, but half of them are going to be custodians and the other half are going to be drivers. And then the good news is that our debt and capital projects, the payments are going to decrease by $2.1 million, and that's because this year we have 2 bonds, the 2000 and 2002 bonds that matures. So this is very good news because hopefully with this money, we will be able to go for a capital project in 1 or 2 years without an increase in the tax levy and the tax rate for the community. The next slide is the largest increase by account code, and as I said, health insurance is going up about $840,000. Then we have the business administration contractual that is going up $181,000, and don't think that that's for me. It's because last year the board decided to hire the second SRO after the budget was passed. So this is just budget to budget, and now it's included in the budget, and that's $175,000. So the real increase for my department is really $6,000. The next one is teacher salaries for pre-K, and this is exactly the same situation where we decided to give the teacher positions to Dr. Lefevre and Mr. Manuelo, but originally we thought that they were going to be step 1 teachers. District transportation also, that's an increase like I mentioned. Then computer services from BOCES is an increase of 127, but really it's just the way we're going to start spending money in technology rather than doing it with other companies. We're going to be doing it with BOCES. And finally, Social Security, that obviously goes up as our salaries go up. The largest decreases, like I said, is transferred to other funds. When we pay debt and interest, we don't pay it out of our operational budget. We need to transfer to the capital budget, and that's the transfer. The capital project is just a reduction because last year we put $150,000 for the BB cafeteria, and this year we didn't have to do it. And then teacher salaries that we're reducing, teachers like in Franklin C and in BB, and finally workers' compensation. The consortium in the workers' compensation has done very well, so they dividend out about $120,000 for us. I decided only to use $78,000 so I can leave some dry powder for next year. So the summary budget, if you remember January 11, we were talking about a budget for about $88.1 million. And we will ask the board to approve a budget for $88,051,287, which is an increase of $1.4 million or 1.6%. That will bring us a tax levy of $50 million, compared to 50,053,05 last year, so it's an increase of 1% in the tax levy.
110.
0.1%.
0.1.
I'm really sorry. The other 0.9 is for my salary. I'm sorry, 0.1%. In the next slide, I just want to show you the budget, the tax levy, and the tax cap for us over time. As you can see, our budget and tax levies have been growing very little, and this year, as I will explain later, our tax cap is going down substantially. Our tax caps in the past 3 years were could have been between 7 and 12%, but obviously we didn't raise the taxes even close to those amounts. And there you can compare it with inflation, New York State tax cap, and like I said, our tax cap. In the next graph, you can see our increases in budget and taxes, and as you can see, we've tried very hard since the announcement of the closure of Indian Point to be fiscally responsible, and I think for this year, bringing a 0.01% increase talks about that responsibility. So these are our revenues, and our revenues are divided in several parts. Obviously, the most important is tax levy. Like I said, that's $50 million. Then state aid increased about $4 million this year compared to last year, and that for two main reasons. Reason number one is our wealth ratio went down. We used to have a wealth ratio of 1.6%, meaning that we were 60% above the average of the school district in the state of New York. Due to the closure of Indian Point and the reduction of the pilot payments, now we're at 1.39%. So that decrease our wealth ratio, and the biggest part of the foundation aid is based on the wealth ratio of the districts. On the other hand, all the school districts in New York State were fully funded for foundation aid, including us. So a portion of these $4 million was because of the fully funded, and the other one because our wealth ratio went down. OCS aids is the money that we received the following year based on the services that we use from OCS the prior year. Transfers is very little. It's basically we pay the food service out of the operating budget, but because they have their own fund, then they reimburse us at the end of the year. Sales tax is the VAT, the tax that you pay in the county of Westchester. So every time when you see that 8.75%, at least you can say, well, it goes to the school district, so it's not that bad. Fund balance. I'll explain fund balance a little bit later, but fund balance is going to be $2.6 million. And then we have other income of $2 million that includes interest income and the tuition students for our ABC and Sailor program. Pilots, if you remember, we still have other pilots. We still have the RESCO and non-RESCO pilot. And next year, we just signed an agreement with Holtec that we will get $4 million in pilot payments from Holtec. And finally, the cessation fund, which is the fund that we draw money every year because of the closure of Indian Point. By law, I need to show our expenses in three different categories. Administrative, which is basically principals, assistant principals, and central office. That represents about 7% of our budget. Then capital, that represents debt, interest, and the cost of maintaining our facilities. That represents 10%. And the rest is basically the cost of instructional, curriculum instructional and education of our children, and that's going to be 83% of our budget. The board doesn't have a policy, but we always target at least an 80% part of the budget to go to students in that category. So I explained all how we divide our revenues. What we call non-property tax revenues, which are all the revenues besides our tax levy, that's going to be $37.9 million, or an increase of 3.7%. Our budget, as I mentioned, is $88.0 million, but that's an increase of 1.6%. The tax levy, an increase of 0.1%, and our tax cap, that really, like I said, our tax cap is really meaningful for us just because of those movements from the pilots. Every dollar that our pilots reduce is a dollar that I can increase in my tax cap. So as you can see, from last year to this year, the tax cap was reduced by 18.5%. Our contingent budget, if we go into contingent, then we increase about 3.5% compared to last year. I would like to touch on the contingent budget because it's important that everyone understand what it means. What's the contingent budget? If the budget fails on May 16, the board has two alternatives. Alternative number one is bring forth a new budget. If that happens, the new budget will be substantially lower, and that will reduce staff and increase class sizes. The second option is for the board to decide to go and adopt a contingency budget right away. If that happens also, there's going to be reduction on staff, increase in class sizes. On the New York State rules, only your ordinary contingency expenses will be allowed. That means that no equipment purchases, no outside organizations are allowed to use our facilities, and there will be no transportation other than from home to school to home. So that's what contingent budget is. Please review this very carefully. Finally, I want to show a lot of numbers that no one understands. Sometimes I don't even understand them myself. But the important number is at the bottom, the last row that says how much your tax rate is going to increase depending where you are, in the town of Portland or in the city of Peekskill. And the good news is that for next year, the town of Portland will have a decrease of 0.15% in their tax rate, and the city of Peekskill of 1.48. And let me just mention that this is preliminary because between now and when we set the rates, both the town and the city of Peekskill are still getting tax accessories and everything. So the assessed valuations might drop between now and then. But this is the preliminary number that I would like to show the community. So what does that mean for anyone in the community? The average assessed value in the community for both the town of Portland and the city of Peekskill is about $7,700 of assessed value. So that means that for the town of Portland, there's going to be an increase of $14 for the year in their taxes, while for the city of Peekskill, it's going to be $69. And before we move to our next slide, I would take the comment because the next slide is when the board approves the budget. So before you guys approve the budget, if you have any questions, then I can answer.
Sorry, that's very loud. I just want to say thank you so much, Enrique and Dr. Laura. This has been such an experience, this budget. I'm so proud of it, and I'm especially proud of our finance committee. I was on the committee last year, and then I was on the committee this year, and it was wildly different and super exciting, and I think that we really, really dived deep rather than just rolling forward and rolling forward. We got creative, we looked into it, we looked at every little nook and cranny. We had so much discussion, and I'm just so thankful for our finance committee, and I'm really proud of the budget that we're putting out this year. So if anyone has questions, I know, I got that.
I definitely do.
I just want to make sure, Enrique, because it looked like the numbers were negative. Does that mean we're going to be paying less taxes?
No.
Than the prior
You are
year?
going, yes, the reduction,
Slightly less.
if your
It's not an
house,
increase, it's a decrease
if
in
your
taxes.
house is worth $7,700 in assessed value,
Yep.
and this stays, your tax bill, instead of being instead of being $8,903, your taxes are going to be $8,889.
Okay, which is, I mean, it's fantastic, given what, I've seen over the years and what our 10-year projections were. Like, that's great. I know our cessation fund is going to continue to decrease, and we're going to have to be diligent on this every year, but to see that this year is fantastic, and it just says a lot for the finance committee and what you've all done. And Dr. Laura, thank you very much for finding a lot of this. My understanding is that it's no cuts to any programs in addition, which is fantastic.
Added in library
Yep,
specialists
so
for
we
the
even
elementary.
improved programs, so there's just, I can't say enough positive things about it. So, thank you, and I'll go out and get a Starbucks with that $14.
You invite me half of it.
I will. I'll get the grande.
Go ahead. Okay. I had two questions. The first is to clarify about the teachers. So Dr. Laura talked about adding a librarian and a new music teacher, but then on page 5, you've got decreases of 2K to 6 teachers. So between the two of you, can you clarify what teachers we're adding and what we're decreasing this year?
The way I do the budget is originally when we counted the number of class sizes, the number of teachers in each class, it was 2 reductions, 1 in each elementary school. So my understanding is that due to reduced enrollment, there's going to be a reduction of 1 teacher in each of those elementary schools.
But we're still adding the other 2 teachers that you did. Okay.
Oh, yeah. When I say, but those go into another account code. That's why I said by account code.
Okay. But these were planned reductions based on student enrollment, and there's no other teacher cuts involved in this budget?
Except on the secondary side, no, there is none in the budget, and as we said,
There'll be
realized savings from, as we go through the incentive.
Okay.
And those, and if not, then it would be whatever we decide to do as far as layoffs.
Okay, but
But it's all enrollment.
a separate conversation outside of this budget.
Driven.
Okay.
And this includes the additional music teacher? Is that?
Yeah, that was in there.
Yes.
That's in there.
Mhm.
So that was my first question. And then the second one is how we're using our fund balance this year. Because when you first introduced the budget back in January, we were using less of our fund balance, and now we're using more of it. And how does that impact our taxes for this year and our 10-year projections?
Thank you. I got my long-term projections that I did on 3/30/23, so just 2 weeks ago. For this year, like I said, 0.01%. Next year is going to be, in my projections, between 4.5% and 5%. For the 24-25, for the 25-26, between 5 and 5.25. For 26-27, between 5.25 and 5.5. Then it drops to between 4.5 and 5. And then it drops to a normal 2%, 3, and 3%. So based on my projections, we're going to be using, for example, this year, next year, we will be using $2.4 million of fund balance. The following year, 4.6. The following year, 5.1. The following year, 6.2, 7, and then back again at 5.4, and then 4.5. So today we have in our fund balance about $21 million. So that's how we are going to be using fund balance. For example, our cessation fund this year is projected to be 12.3 million. Next year, 10.5, 8.6, 6.6, 4.5, and then it stops there. On the other hand, also, I'm taking into account that our pilot with Holtec will start going up substantially in the year 2028, 29. We're having negotiations with them, and we're agreeing on how it's convenient for them to pay us pilot over a long period of time, and how it is convenient for us for them to pay us the pilots. And we are on the same page. We think that we're going to be able to achieve for both parties the goals. The only thing I can tell you now, and I can say in public, is that Holtec wants to backload the payments. I want them to backload the payments after the cessation fund, and after we run our cessation fund.
Okay, my question was concerning about whether we're artificially reducing the tax burden this year and how that'll affect the tax increases in the next couple of years. Because we're still going to follow. It's hard to follow. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so it's hard to follow in front of me.
Next year, we're expecting between 4.5 and 4.75. So if you take into account that 2% is the regular, it's the regular given inflation and everything is what any other school district can increase. We're just increasing to make up the $20 million that we lost from Indian Point. We're only increasing 2% above what any other district is going to increase their tax rate. The following year it goes to 5. The following year 5.25. Then it goes down again to 5. So if you take into account that the regular increase for any school district is 2%, we're going to be between 2 and 3% above for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And then we go back to the 2%.
Okay. So we've been successful keeping it near zero this year, but moving forward, the community members.
Don't expect
Expected
near
for
zero
years.
going forward.
Okay.
And let me just also add one other thing that you should note right on the chart there at the very top of state aid. I don't think you want to count on 53% increase every year.
Correct, right.
This
We're gonna
is
level
very
off.
unusual.
Right.
That happens, so again, as that one decreases along with some of the other, you've got to use even more fund balance to keep.
Well, the state aid will eventually level off around. It's not
It
just
usually
gonna
doesn't
double.
make that kind of jump.
In my projections, I expect next year to increase state aid to $14.9 million because state aid is behind the wealth ratio by 3 years. So the wealth ratio, they reset our wealth ratio based on pilot number 1. Because if you remember, one of the reactors was shut down the year before the other one. So next year, we'll get the decrease in wealth ratio due to the second pilot. And then going forward, I expect an increase of about 2% in state aid, which is what we've been getting in the last 10 to 15 years, besides the financial crisis.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Anybody else?
The only thing I'd like to clarify a little bit around the contingent budget because we generalize, bring forth a new budget reduction in staff, increase in class sizes. Do we know how much money is this? Do we have an idea?
Actually, because of our increasing tax levy so low, we will only have to cut $47,927.
But, there's a but.
There's a but, as always. If you remember in 2007, when the district was in contingent, the administration back then put the first budget, it was defeated, and then came back with the same budget, and was defeated again. So if the community is sending you a message that it's too high, the idea is we need to cut more. You know, I wouldn't make the same mistake. It was done in 2007. And then you can say, okay, we're cutting 400,000, and it's up to the board.
But if it doesn't pass and then it doesn't pass again, then that's where it gets into the risk of we can't have anyone on our premises.
Exactly.
Limiting buses, athletics, all of that is
Just hurts the community.
at risk.
Yes.
Yeah, the community is truly different.
Yeah,
So what
community-
Enrique is saying is that if the budget doesn't pass, don't just go back out with $50,000 lower, because that's all you have to do. You need to take a deep dive, because you don't want to end up with contingent budget.
Right.
And again, it really is like town of Cortland uses our fields, we can't do that, we can't allow it. So there's a lot of things that come with that. Any other questions for Enrique? Okay. All right, so we have to vote on the budget to adopt it. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Hendrick Hudson Central School District, Town of Portland, and the County of Westchester be and hereby is authorized to expend the sum of $88,051,287 for the general budget and to levy the necessary tax therefore. I need a motion to approve or to adopt this budget. Motion. Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, superintendent's report? You have
We have
one?
much else
We
to
kind of did that already, okay. And we have no more audience comments. Committee reports, board comments, anybody have anything?
We had a safety thing.
Okay.
Jeremy, jump in if you've got anything else to add. So we had a safety committee meeting a few weeks ago before the break. There's a new SRO, Officer Michael at the high school. We reviewed the ongoing safety plan and training, including specific pipeline safety for the BV staff. And then we highlighted how we've been cooperating with local law enforcement on our recent lockdown and safety drills. And this is really important to help them be more familiar with our buildings in case of an emergency, so they know the staff and the layouts of the buildings.
Awesome. Anything else?
For safety,
Yeah.
yeah, bus patrol we need.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. No, we'll go to audit.
So bus patrol,
Safety issue.
we had great support from the town of Portland and from Colin Smith, and it is expected that they will be passing legislature this month and likely signed by the county executive this month as well, so that bus patrol cameras and the ability for them to utilize the violators that are captured on that stop arm camera for ticketing purposes, and they're hopeful that it'll be in effect for September of 23. I think Monday it's going to be red.
Dr.
And Jeremy, we all owe you a big thank you for
I know,
doing
it's just-
that.
And I have to say, right, so that was really spearheaded by Liz, right? Liz spearheaded
Liz
this.
is still driving that, yeah?
Yes,
And
Liz,
Dr.
this isn't
Becker.
over yet, right? And Dr. Becker reached out, and so did Colin Smith, both to support, and the board of the town.
Yeah.
So we were really lucky to have all those people get involved and support that effort, so thank you to everyone involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just quickly, so we met as an audit committee. We're going to be doing a deeper dive into our HR processes as far as an audit goes, an internal audit. And that's really it. So we just met today to talk about that.
I missed that, I'm sorry.
It's the audit committee. So we're doing a deeper dive into the HR process. So we're actually doing a separate new audit, which is standard. We usually do different processes year over year.
Different
When we
focuses,
did
right?
IT,
Yeah.
right? And we're doing HR, and sometimes we do other control focus areas, just making sure that, we have the right controls in place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry I made you repeat.
That's all good. All good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we have contract stuff is what he's talking about. He's here.
Oh.
That's what you, is adopting, so it's number, excuse us a minute, under the classified personnel. That's
Yeah.
what the contract says, right?
Yeah, we have,
I remember what's here?
It's on there.
Where?
It's right under 5.3, classified personnel.
Did we pull it, or is it part of consent?
No,
it's right here.
Yeah.
No, but I think it was approved by consent. We want, I guess Tom Gillian is here representing the unit. I'd like to
Oh.
thank him personally for
Okay.
the settlement,
Where is
wherever Tom is. Here he is. Oh, Tom, thank you very much
Thank
for
you. Thank
all
you.
that you've done.
Should have warned you.
I'm sorry.
This Narcan thing too, that there's still all these questions about.
What's the matter?
I think there's still a lot of confusion about this Narcan policy that was passed and whether they can have it, right? There's still confusion. So there's, Lisa, I think, right, there's some confusion on whether the people are allowed to take the course through New York State versus the hospital. And that was at least discussed at safety. So I don't know where we are, but I think what I want to make clear is that our policy exists in a way that if you have a New York State certified Narcan course that you've passed and you have your own Narcan, you can carry it in school. But then there's a question on how we're going to refill and recertify in the future, right?
No, the question is more of storage of the Narcan that we get. Greg, you good? Okay, the question was more of the procedures of the protocol of Narcan, where we store it when we get re-upped. Because there needs to be, according to the New York State policy, there needs to be a storage facility. We don't want it in the health office because if there's a game, you can't get into the health office. So when we spoke to Anthony and Dr. Laurel and I all spoke, we discussed that it would go over the AEDs or near the AEDs. So if there's a sporting event, there's gonna be some sort of lock. I don't know what it is. Anthony was supposed to be taking care of that. and everything would be in there if someone like used theirs and didn't have it or didn't have it on them. So there's two ways they can get certified. They can get certified through BOCES, and St. Vincent's is also supplying us with the extra Narcan, so they can also get certified online through St. Vincent's.
Okay, so,
So there was another question about training too.
yeah, so, well, I think, there's two pieces.
There was
I think.
two concerns about getting resupplied of Narcan because we had to have a provider. So St. Vincent's is our provider, and we talked to them after we met with Anthony, and after Dr. Laurel and I met with Anthony and somebody else, I can't remember who else was there. And basically we said, if St. Vincent's agrees, we're good. And as long as St. Vincent's agreed with who the provider was through New York State, that they were New York State approved, we didn't have any issues. So we're all set. The nurses created a protocol for how, if we have to do it on school property, there is a form that'll have to be filled out, so all of that will be in this box.
And anyone who has a certification is allowed to carry their own Narcan
Yep.
effective immediately on campus,
Yep,
bar none, right?
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Anything else? All right, can I have a motion to close the meeting? Can I have a second? All in favor?